Thanks for being here. Welcome. My name is Claire Lights, and I'm one of the assistant directors here in the Office of Admission. You are at the Bearcat Life panel. And so what we're going to do here today is talk about all things life as a Willamette University Bearcat. We have numerous panelists here from many different facets of campus who will introduce themselves here in a moment. We will do some formulated questions we have at the beginning to kick things off, and then we will open up the floor to you. I will let our panelists introduce themselves. Do you want to go ahead and start?
Good morning, everybody. My name is Evan Cohn. I am a junior from the Portland area, a little town called Westland. I am a history and PPLE double major. PPLE is our version of the politics major. And on the side, beyond that, I am in 3 different music groups, and I am the current president of the Nerf Club.
Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. My name is Mitchell Lee. I guess I'm a graduate student, so this is my 5th year, if you want to call me a 5th year. I'm from Sacramento, California. I've been involved on campus with the Residence Hall Association, Chinese-Taiwanese Culture Association, and I was the founder of Nerf Club, actually.
Hi, my name is Zachary Cardoso. I'm a staff member. I work in student involvement, which is our student activities, community service learning, and campus recreation. So I support a lot of different student involvement on campus. And I was also a Willamette student. So I graduated in 2013 with a Bachelor's of Music in Music Education. I'm originally from California, and I participated in a legal Nerf club. Before Nerf club was a allowed activity. That was me.
So much Nerf club representation. Hi, everyone. My name is Andrea Hugmeyer. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm the director of the Gender Resource and Advocacy Center. In that position, I wear a few hats. I do a lot of kind of community building among student groups that work around gender equity and anti-oppression work. I kind of oversee the daily operations where we provide a lot of resources around gender identity and sexuality for students. We also have a peer advocacy program in the center and support students who have been survivors or victims of sexual violence. So I will leave it there.
My name is Scott Etherton. I'm the director of housing, and I'm sure you have all sorts of questions about housing. Happy to help answer those. I've been here for I'm in my 4th year. So, and if you don't know, and you get a chance to take a tour of the campus, all of our students are on for the first year are in the first year commons, which is the very section of campus you're sitting in right now.
So I had been down to this campus a couple of times for various camps, and I knew of it well enough but didn't really know what the vibe was, and I showed up to campus, did the tour, and met with 2 different professors, one in the history department, one in the music department, and I walked away from the tour, and I remember specifically I crossed the bridge by the plaza and just turned to my father and said, yes, this is it. And I think just the amount of activities on campus and the amount of student involvement has been just one of my favorite parts. And the close access to the Capitol, where I am fortunate enough to currently be working at, has been another really wonderful draw.
My answer for why I came here as a student and why I stay as a staff member is basically the same. It's Willamette's community. When I came here for my visit in 2009, I was just very surprised by not only the Willamette community, but also the Salem community. That's something that's been built here. As a student, I've been to faculty's and staff's houses for dinners or for talking about thesis or things like that. I've met their families and formed strong relationships with not only my peers, but with faculty and staff, and that's something that's continued as a staff member. So really fostering that community is what brought me here and what keeps me here.
I have kind of a similar story around community, but not having been a student, the community aspect is really strong and the relationships are meaningful. And I find that the student population here is far different than the other universities that I've worked with, in that students are genuinely committed to making the world a better place.
And I have to say, this is a tight-knit community. The students really do enjoy being here. They enjoy that connection they have with each other, and it is a very unique campus in that regard. Our students are focused on academics and doing well, but they also like to have fun and do the things that that help them have a great experience here when they're not in class or studying.
I think for me, my favorite is probably this kind of week-long string of events called De-Stress Week. It's a week right before finals that RHA puts on with just a bunch of little mini events. Because, obviously during finals, everyone's feeling pretty stressed, feeling a little on edge. And these events, they're relatively small. Sometimes it's just like, sitting and coloring while drinking tea. Or usually there's like kind of a day where all the professors bring their dogs and people can come and pet the dogs before they take a grueling final. And I really appreciate those kind of events, just to relax, spend some time with friends at a busy time of the year.
Each year, the a cappella groups on this campus and throughout the state put on a large concert with the sorority Alpha Chi, and we act as a donation for the battered women's shelter in the Salem area. But it's just a really fun event because it's bringing together groups from all across the state, and we all just get to share with each other just the music and the community that we have built, and then we carry those connections throughout the whole year, and we'll still see the groups throughout the year and be like, oh, that was a really cool song that you did, and just being able to do that and have so much fun with it, but also having it serve a cause just makes it really, really special.
I have to say, Lavender Graduation, this is a new event. We just had our first one last year, and it was so powerful and meaningful for our LGBTQ plus students who were graduating, and even the students who remained and have gone on to plan this year's or starting to plan this year's graduation, just finding so much validation and support and community. I know to staff and faculty that attended, expressed a lot of gratitude for bringing this to our university. So I'm really excited about what that's going to look like going forward.
For me, it's opening. It's the first day of all the first-year students arriving. The campus is full of activity. We have returning students that are here to help move in, faculty and staff that are here to help move in. You see teams show up with the matching shirts, and it's just a very high energy, very welcoming environment, and it's a lot of fun.
So recently, we've had a group of students put together what we call the SOAR Center, which is Students Organizing for Access to Resources. And this is a combination of 3 different student-started initiatives. So we have a first-generation book drive, which is open to more than just first-generation students, but that is the target audience, as well as a food pantry and a clothing share, which has business professional clothing for students who are maybe applying to jobs or participating in internships or things where maybe they don't have the proper business attire, so they need that resource. And that's something that I've worked with since its inception, and just the continued growth of that program and working with the students who are in charge of that is something that I've been excited about.
Yeah, it's something I'm really excited about developing in the Gender Resource and Advocacy Center is a peer education program. We've got a couple folks who have worked together to create like an LGBTQ education, kind of like a 101 level, to really emphasize some terminology and how to, be a good ally. So we've got kind of that content developing right now, and then we've also got some folks who have been doing some peer-led workshops on healthy masculinity and consent. So we're seeing this kind of emerge from the students' desire to have more prevention work on our campus and to really just take ownership and help shift the culture so we can, take a look at a community that is free of violence ultimately.
The resident advisor is probably our premier top of the line sort of leadership opportunity. It's a year-long commitment. You have every aspect of life that you're sort of tracking with your residents. You know them all by name. You're planning events and activities. You're someone to go to if your students are having issues with adjusting to university, if they're having sort of a down day, there's someone you can talk to sort of get some support. There are individuals that you'll eat meals with and really get to know. So the RA position really is, it's a lot of fun, but it's also a lot of work. There's some details and administrative things that people have to do, but the RAs that are in that position right now love the work that they do.
So I already mentioned that we have peer advocates. So we call them sexual assault response advocates, otherwise known as the SARAs. So that is one leadership opportunity for students to get involved. There is extensive training that comes with that. So our students have to go through a 40-hour training, but it is a state certified training. So it's an awesome resume builder and equips folks to actually go out and work at a community agency upon graduation or over the summer. So that's some great work. We also have some internships. We've worked closely with the Career Development or the Career Center just to develop some intern opportunities for folks.
So my office has hundreds of leadership positions. So right now we are planning opening days, which is our orientation program. We have our pre-orientation programs, which we call Jumpstart. About 100 student organizations. If you're interested in joining a fraternity or sorority, all of those have their executive boards. We have our student government, our student-run bistro. We also have community service learning. We have volunteering at a local elementary school, local middle and high schools, spring break alternative service trip, our community service learning courses. Oh, there's so many things. We have our outdoor program, trip leaders, bike shop, our fitness center, our aquatics program, our intramurals, our sports clubs. We have personal trainers. We have hundreds of positions that students can fill. We just have so much that students can do. It astounds me now. It astounded me when I was a student.
Typical day is usually up by 8 or 9. I live off campus, so I walk to campus, usually take a couple of classes in the morning, have a choir rehearsal spun in there. On Tuesday, Thursdays, I walk over to the Capitol and I put in 5 hours each day over there. And then I will eat dinner at the Commons and then go study in the library, the bistro, at one of the hearths that we have, which, if you don't know about those, they are spaces on campus for each major, and they are places where you can meet with fellow students and professors. And then normally finding some time to hang out with friends either during studying or afterwards.
My main schedule, wake up in the morning, get dressed. I wasn't much of a breakfast guy, even though I love breakfast food. So usually I just go straight to class after I get ready, come back. And one of the things that's really nice about kind of I was living on campus last year. And one of the things that's really nice is that everything is really close by. Your friends are close by, places to eat are close by. So usually I'd coordinate with some friends, try to go grab lunch together. Let's see. After classes, I end up going to the library or some kind of public space. Depending on how I was feeling, there's you've probably seen the library, but there's kind of a larger tables area. And there's also private rooms in the back. So if I was doing something that I needed to really kind of be shut in and just work on something very intently, I'd go to the private rooms. usually somewhere in the day I'd have some kind of meeting. I was very involved with like event planning on campus. I was part of RHA, like Scott was talking about, and I gotta say it is like a very good opportunity. Highly pro RHA over here, Residence Hall Association. So usually I'd end up in the evening going to meet with my committee, talking about where we wanted to allocate funding to fund different events, voting on things and things like that. Every day was a little bit different, which I really, really appreciated. One of the classes I really enjoyed was, I can't remember the exact name, but it was basically Film Studies 101. That's my undergrad major, was Film Studies. Basically the class, what we do is we talk about different elements in film, whether it be, different cinematography like techniques or whatnot. And every week we would go to Ford, and it has a big theater in it. It's like a movie screen-sized theater. It was really fun to just be able to kind of learn about these things and then immediately go to Ford to watch movies that are really good examples of these things. And we watched a splattering of like old and new movies, everything from, what was it? Pulp Fiction to like Star Trek that came out in 2009 as an example of like how sound is used because they're in space. And it's like, yeah, there's echoes and such. But yeah, I think that was probably one of my favorite classes.
So I'm going to have to say there were two different classes. One was Crusades, which I have been asked to come back to each semester because I'm a big like Renaissance fair medievalist. But it's just a really fun class for those who aren't like fully decided on being a history major yet, but it gives you a great survey of a very fascinating time period, and you get to watch movies, you get to read some really fascinating books, and I had a lot of fun. The other class was a class called Politics and Ethics. It is the second required course for all PPLE majors, and it had two very interactive components. If you haven't noticed, that is something that I really love. But one was we read Julius Caesar, and we got to reenact parts of it. They also did a reenactment of Greenwich Village, which is a interactive simulation that looks at a bunch of revolutionaries from the 1910s. And I got to write a ton of poetry for that, performed a play that I wrote, and just had a lot of fun with classmates in a way that I normally don't get to in a classroom setting.
We've got a few groups that are doing kind of anti-oppression, feminist work. We've got our Choice Action Team group, which is kind of the campus arm of NARAL, if you're familiar. Okay. So they are trying to do a lot of work around reproductive rights, reproductive justice, but also just period products, and I think they just joined like the period movement as like an organization, so they're waiting for some material on that, and we're actually doing like a Diva Cup event where we're raffling off Diva Cups. For those of you who don't know, yeah, they're menstrual cups. There are a lot of amazing things about them. Reusable, so we're actually partnering with the Students for Sustainability Club. We also have our SARAs, which are the sexual assault response advocates, and really thinking around survivor-centered practices on campus, thinking about more public-oriented programming happens during October, Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and also during April, which is Sexual Assault Awareness, or what we're trying to now term Action Month, Sexual Assault Action Month. So we've got that happening. We've got our student-led prevention group, which is called SHAPE, and that stands for Sexual Health Activism and Prevention Education. So they are kind of working on similar issues, but not necessarily required to go through like the 40-hour training, and are much more, much less, like they're not doing victim response in any way, and trying to look at, developing programming on healthy relationships and consent and gender equity, all as ways to reduce violence. Our resource center is kind of structured in the university within the Office of Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. So we're working on a lot of collaborative programming and more coalition building too, with like the Office of Multicultural Affairs, our Student Equity and Empowerment Center, and also the Native American programs are in the office too.
The music department here is very diverse in that it's a lot of non-majors. When I was a student, there was maybe like 10 music majors in any given year, so about 40 in the entire university, but our ensembles are much larger than that. But they take classes that interest them within the music major, but they're also not a music major. So you can be as involved as you can logistically be within whatever your other coursework is.
We have 24-hour courtesy hours, which means at any time in the day or night, people should be able to take a nap, study, do the things that they need to do. So we can have fun and all that, but try to keep it to a dull roar during the day. And then there are posted quiet hours, usually at 10 at night to, I think, 7 in the morning, 8 in the morning for regular school nights. It bumps up a little bit for the weekend.
So we work closely with Bishop and the mental health providers. They actually have liaisons. Each of the counselors kind of work with different departments too. So there's a good kind of support network among staff.
In addition to our physical mental health providers, we also have a 24-hour hotline for students experiencing crisis. And they are trained specifically about Willamette, so it's not just like a general hotline. It's someone who knows Willamette's insurance, Willamette's issues, where the campus is situated, what's going on. So that's an additional resource. We have a staff of 2 coordinators who kind of work to do outreach to students and figure out what students want, what needs do they have in accessing the outdoors. And then we have our office staff who field the front desk and they make reservations, they help people sign up for trips. And then we have our trip leaders who what they do is they lead the trips. And we have a lot of local trips that are about an hour away, but then we also will do things like trips to Crater Lake, which is 4 hours away, and we go snowshoeing around the rim and stay in a cabin there, and we do both overnight and single-day trips. We do rafting, kayaking, general hiking, rock climbing. There's a whole bunch of things, and we want to serve student needs. It's not we decide what we think is best. We ask students what they want to do and then decide the easiest and safest ways to do those things. If you have something you want to do, you can certainly approach either the professional staff or the student coordinators, and we'll work with them to provide those things.
One of the pre-orientation groups is called Steppin' Out, and they essentially have a week of trips where they'll be going to both local spots and some longer distance spots, and it is a absolutely fantastic way to like get your foot into the program, because a lot of those leaders for that trip are staff members for the full program, and so and that has been a really good pipeline for people who are really interested in the outdoors, and that group kind of retains itself as a core group that will then go on to do these trips.
If you are in dual enrollment courses right now, most of those courses might be 3 or 4 credits total. And at Willamette, if you're looking on our schedule online, most of our courses are 1 credit. We like to say we just make the math easier. So a 3-credit course is 1 credit course at Willamette. It transfers over as the same amount of coursework. So you can transfer up to 8 credits at Willamette, so an entire year, depending on how many courses you have taken. Can we give a round of applause to our panelists here? Thank you.